Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the last episode of 2025, I believe, of the Art Business Podcast. And my guests today are live from Warsaw in Poland. And so I guess in some ways um, that's quite uh, good for uh, appropriate, I guess, just before Christmas, because I imagine that Warsaw, which I've never been to, I'm afraid, I would imagine that it's filled with Christmas markets and lights and uh, you know, signs of hope. So anyway,
Yes.
my guests are Łukasz Sinitsyn and Kasia Piszkos. Apologies for my Polish pronunciation. So you're very welcome. And I was maybe we could start with should we start with Kasia and ask her about her background, how she came to Bliss Gallery, where she's the art director?
Hello. During my, let's say, artistic career, I began with applying for Academy of Fine Art. I failed. Then I started History of Art, and I was traveling a lot. And I did my internship in Venice, Peggy Guggenheim. I also did the internship at Saatchi. I used to live in London for 2 years. And then I was running another gallery, HOS, the private gallery, for 5 years and a half. Then I thought that I am tired of being part of the commercial art, like I don't know, like system. And I was trying. Also, I worked for a while for the auction house, and then in the bank collection. So I was trying different way of being engaged with art, and I ended up with Łukasz and Roman, who is the owner of the gallery. We met each other exactly in the auction house, and when Roman told me that he is really into building a new gallery that will be like open for the new artists, also for like the one who passed away, uh, and I saw the space, which is very special and very beautiful. And for me, as a curator, it was very beautiful option. I never studied curating, so for me, it was like the experience that I just to gain doing the exhibition. So, and I think that curating in general is about being spontaneous and it's a way of reacting. I think so. It's hard to learn it. So I'm very glad that I have this opportunity because it's a beautiful job.
It sounds quite typical in some ways. My alumni of my program in London, they have similar constant experiments and changes, particularly in the early years, I think. It sounds, Kasia, though, that you currently have found, maybe something that you might be settled with for a few years.
Definitely, because as I said, like working for the private institution, you have this privilege to experiment a lot. We don't
Absolutely.
have to worry about like the slots that are last, for example, 6 months. But in the
Yes.
gallery, you have a space to react very quickly. So if you are into doing something very spot, like exactly this art fair that we speak about later, there's always a place to do that. So we can offer ourselves to invite artists from abroad exploring. So I think that it's something that I really love to do.
Yeah, I think the big important point you've made there is about the freedom that you have as a gallery director and curator. That's really nice to have, and not always the case in the art world. Lukasz, I think, is having some problems with his video, but maybe Łukasz, maybe you could say a little bit about your background and how you came to the gallery.
Yeah, sorry for that. I didn't know what is happening right now, but maybe my voice will be sufficient.
Yes.
Uh, it might be a little bit anticlimactic because Kasia has definitely way more experienced, and she had way more interesting stories of her of her job practice. For me, everything started when I was studying at the university, on Warsaw University. While I was making my bachelor degree, I connected with Roman, which was before the idea of starting the gallery was mainly focused on, that this kind of being a merchant or a person who is supervising collections and making deals, and mainly works with private collectors, very on a small scale. And I was a little bit nagging Roman about making an own space and saying that I think it's a time. And after that, as Kasia said, we met a time like a year ago, and I think more than a year ago, and we started to make this trio work. And I think everything for now it's going pretty well, and we are a good team to go with the gallery.
Sounds good. Sounds really good to me. And the name Bliss Gallery, to me, the word bliss has poetic associations with like religion, philosophies, nirvana. I know we'll come to the show that you had in Artissima where I met both of you later, which is where obviously the artist was a practicing Buddhist. But could you say something more about the creation of that name? Was it the three of you decided on the name, or who came up with the idea, and why Bliss? Either of you, I don't know who.
Yeah, yeah. So as Lukasz said, because we didn't say it at the very beginning, like the Bliss, it's a very young gallery. We opened in March this year. So the winter time last year for us, it was like the
brainstorm,
exactly, but at the same time it was like a hub. We are thinking a lot about the program, and the name was one of it, because before we had a name, I have a vision for the first exhibition. So the first exhibition was titled Bliss, and then when we are, for example, one meeting, we decided like we have to prepare like 10 different options, each of us, and we are discussing very strange name for this gallery. And then one day we are completely like, maybe we gave up and we said, why not Bliss? And we are thinking that the Bliss is like very good name for the gallery, because of course like this poetic associations are also very important for us. But first of all, we are thinking that Bliss is like the state of happiness that we are craving for, and it's so hard to reach nowadays. So we're thinking that bliss is something that everyone deserved, and we should fight it for it. But it's at the same time, it's something that it's very hard to reach. So for us, it's like our daily struggle to stay in a good like mental shape.
I certainly think everybody would agree with that at the moment. I think post-COVID and lockdowns, we're seeing a lot of people are having like what are interpreted as mental health problems. It's quite strange why, but I think it's something to do with the lockdowns and COVID and all of those changes that came about, the sort of general stresses all of us have these days. So I like the idea of that, and I know that your exhibitions are they're also about. I think that a lot of the themes are about peace and happiness and finding peace in different types of environment, both the urban environment and in nature. So that's a really, really nice idea. I think of I'm a classicist. I think of the ancient philosophy of Epicureanism. Their philosophical school in Athens wasn't in the city. It was deliberately moved out into the countryside to a place called the Garden, which I kind of like the idea of, because they felt that you couldn't reach what they called ataraxia, peace of mind, bliss, in the city. It just wasn't. It was very difficult to do that. So it's okay for some. Obviously, it's a bit of a hippie idea, but nothing's new in life really. But I think we could go back to these ideas, and the exhibition of yours that we'll come to that I saw in Artissima. That's what attracted me to the works. They were in an environment. Torino's a very busy industrial city. The fair, as you know, is in a former industrial area of the city where the Fiat factories used to be, and it just looked oppositional to me from those kind of contexts. And talking about contexts, Kasia and Łukasz, I was just wondering whether, I think a lot of the listeners, including myself, we haven't been to Warsaw. I wonder whether you could talk about the positioning of the gallery, the geographical location within the city of Warsaw, and say a little bit about the city and its and its art ecology. Does that make sense? And where Bliss fits in as a physical space? You know, what kind of building it is?
Yes,
Łukasz?
so, yes,
Kasia.
perfectly. My camera is right now is not working. Sorry for that. Uh, uh, so the gallery it's located in old building, like really old building because the building was built in the beginning of the 20th century, and miraculously it survived the Second World War. We also had on our website, on our Instagram page, the photos of the building during the Warsaw Uprising. So it's quite a nice historical place. It's in the strict center, city center. And I think you asked about the geography of the galleries in Warsaw, and it's quite important in Warsaw to be located near the city center, or just or like in a close, pretty much relatively small circle, because I think in Warsaw the gallery private gallery scene is growing, but it's still a little bit small and a little bit not very populated as a as a traffic stop to when you're a pedestrian. So we are in close connection to maybe close distance to a lot of other galleries, and I think it's a quite of a similar approach to every gallerist in Warsaw to be located close to each other. It also helps. You also mentioned about the WGW, the Warsaw Gallery Weekend, which is like the biggest event in connecting all the galleries in Warsaw. So it's like also very important to be close to each other to attract people, basically to make them able to be transfer from one gallery to the other gallery without using the bus or any other sort of a transport, public or private transport. We have few galleries that are a little bit on the outskirts, but they are still, I call them the outskirts, making air quotes right now, but they are still in the in quite of a city center. They are maybe 3-4 kilometers away from our gallery. So, and a lot of galleries are in, for example, our galleries in an old apartment. So we got the wooden floor and a little bit of apartment-y vibe. It's quite big because it's a very old apartment. So it was apartment of a very rich family. But some there's different approaches. There's in many European galleries, you can see those two approaches. Like some of them are you have a strictly white QB with a gray floor, and on the first, not first floor, but on the ground floor, with the big windows and something like that. And the other option is to be in the building we're on the fourth floor of the building, so we got few steps up. So it's also you get this kind of suspended in the architecture, the gallery that's like glowing out of this building, because this fluorescent light that we have when you look at the building that we are seated in they are like very differentiating from all the apartments and bureaus around us. So basically, I don't know if I answered all your questions, but
And so from what you're saying is from if I was walking down the street and I looked up at this apartment building, would it be obvious from outside that there is a gallery there or something strange there?
yeah, I think so too. I think so. You're correct. You definitely, maybe the connection to the art gallery wouldn't be so immediate, but the color of the light that we have chosen it to offset the brownness of the floor is quite fluorescent, let's say. So it's like bluish and white bluish. So you definitely would see that this is a different space than any other space to live or to work. You got this kind of a laboratory of art vibe.
but at the same time, we are pretty hidden. It's not so, we don't have any information outside. I mean, of course, when you close to the door, get closer, you'll see the name Bliss, but at the same time, we are in the background, in the backyard. So if you would like to access the gallery, you should know, you rather have to know about it. It's not for like the passengers from the streets. It's like people who are know a bit something about like the private galleries in Warsaw, or they follow us sometimes on Instagram. So it's not only for art lovers, but also for the Instagrammers, etc. Because for us, after the first exhibition, when we just opened the space, I think that it get a bit viral. So because its space is very special, especially we have a beautiful balcony, and there was like plenty of the young girls who are like taking the pictures. Not art, but the beautiful architecture. Because when you get outside this balcony, you will see that we have at the opposite side the very beautiful, also old tenant, like the old buildings, and at the same time, next to it is like the awful communistic building. So you can one glimpse, and you can see like the
history
crazy,
of the architectural history of Warsaw.
Polish. Exactly.
Sounds very interesting. So, what are you talking about accessibility not being as easy because it's not on the ground floor of the street? And do people have to ring a bell and you call them in, you let them in, or can they just walk up the stairs?
Yes, they have to ring, but at the same time, it's like it's fully automatic. So we
Okay.
don't have to run.
Yes. Yeah. But
Back and forth.
yes, that's quite interesting. And is there an elevator or is it a staircase?
There is a very small elevator. So for us, and for example, the last exhibition that we did, I had such a crazy idea that, for example, maybe let's do the fountain on the fourth floor, and we did it. But at the same time, the elevator is too small to carry some stuff. So poor Lukasz and Romek, because I'm the only lady in the gallery, they have to carry all my stupid ideas.
The logistics of having a gallery on the fourth floor with in a very old building, it's sometimes might cause some problems. As Kasia mentioned, the last exhibition, like we had to make pretty much and a little puddle of water, So you might you might imagine how unsafe and uneasy it was going out of the gallery with the notion of having like 400 liters of water suspended on the wooden floor, and below you've had some offices and something like that. So it would be a disastrous thing. Anything broke, but fortunately it didn't.
Sorry, can you explain that? There was an art installation involved, including water.
Yes. So there was an exhibition during the Warsaw Gallery weekend, which I mentioned before, and you are familiar with.
Yes.
And so we invited an young artist, Ania Sztwiertnia from Krakow, some urban city in Poland, and one of her works, which is called Hydrofornia, which is translated to I don't know, Kasia, if you got the translation, or it's
Hydroform, like it's like the like the structure that is hidden underground and pump the waters. So it's like structure that allow us to use the tap water.
Yeah, and her installation needed to be connected to water, and needed to be connected in a way that may freely drip the water and make this kind of sound, and like kind of abandoned building vibe a little bit. And so we had to make a solution for that, and we decided to make a big. So the whole the installation, the framework of the installation is like, I don't know, 2 meters long, 1 meter wide. So it's a quite big installation, and this whole installation must be suspended in water. So we decided to make an kind of improvised, I would say, improvised like domestic lake on our floor of the gallery, and we bought special plastic wrapping that is needed, for example, used in the gardening industry, and so we made it this way, and it worked pretty much. We've got all the documentation, on the photos on our website.
Yes.
And I highly advise people to, if they're listening, to check right now this installation, because it's really beautiful, and it's really a work of a very great artist. And then secondly, the things that thank you very much.
Yes.
Mogę teraz wyświetlić Twoje aplikacje. Rozpoczęto udostępnianie ekranu.
Exactly. You can see.
It's very clever. It's very clever because you can't see what we would call the pond lining, which is stopping the water going through your floorboards.
That's why we also had to put like 200 kilograms of stone, this stone material that covered it. And for the reference, I can add that this room is like 5 meters across and 5 meters, so it's like 20. And I think even like 6 by 6, so it's quite large.
Thank you. And the windows that we saw there, were they kind of like what we call French doors that they lead onto the balcony?
So, but those windows, this window that you showed on this installation, it isn't going to the balcony, but we've got the same set of like this old Frenchy like style windows going to the balcony other side. Those ones are just to be opened, and we're gonna get this barrier, and it's opened to the courtyard of the building, so it's also quite nice.
I think a lot of our listeners, I know a lot of my alumni, they go into art logistics, and they would be very, very interested in you being on the 4th floor, how you deal, as you say, with lots and lots of water up there. And, do you have to knock on the door of the offices below and say, we're just to warn you, we are, or what is the relationship with the other people in the building, or are they invited in for the preview and drinks to keep them cool?
We have to keep close to the community from this building,
exactly.
But there is also a lot of like institutions in this building, like the foundations, etc.
Right.
Roman, who is the owner, he also he's the close friend of the old ladies who live there. Because some of the apartments also like the passage from the generations. So we have some rules that we have to keep and follow. For example, we cannot do the openings during the weekends. We have to be very careful with finishing before like the 10 p.m. So when we are doing the concert, we also trying to keep in mind that there's a people who live there, and we have to keep quiet and not allow people on this balcony to smoke cigarettes all night, but and we didn't have meetings for them, but we are planning to do that because as Lukasz said, this building is very old. We have to also, when we are doing the restoration and all the works over there, we have to follow, for example, the restriction from the conservator. So it's also very important for us to keep this the original character of this building.
So what date is the building? What sort of decade is it?
It was the end of the 19th century.
Oh, really? Yes, I see. Yeah.
And the original state, when we arrived there, Lukasz was with Roman at the very beginning when they started all these works. It was in a very bad shape, to be honest. Yes. So the way it looks right now, it was a lot of work, but at the same time, all the works were done with the very big respect to keeping this part of the Warsaw story.
And while we're on this subject, because I think myself and the listeners will now have a very good picture. I have a visual picture in mind of a little bit of Warsaw and where your building and where the gallery is on the fourth floor and relationships with neighbors. So when you opened the gallery, how did you reach out? Where were your contacts? Did you already know a lot of people in Warsaw art scene who you knew would come to the preview, or did you have to work very, very hard at bringing people in?
So all of us has experience working in art. So
Yes.
we have our community. Each of us has our contacts.
Yes.
But because of the building, as I said, that it's very like the entrance to the gallery is hidden. You have to work on promotion. So we are running the Instagram, the website, and apparently, like the opening was the great success. So we are even surprised how many people arrived, and we think
Yeah,
that
but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, but I remembered that we were a little bit scared for, when you open the gallery, that the first exhibition is quite of a like the thing that will say a lot about what you're representing. And we were a little bit scared, but it turned out, as Kasia said, that
We are
the
totally put out, to be honest.
yeah, the amount of people was overwhelming at the time, and we had this success with the amount of people going in for the exhibitions opening. Like every hour exhibition opening was quite hectic, so we are very happy that it turned out this way. But your question is very good because I assume I would I know the feeling about how hesitant you are and how scared you are that no one is going to show up. The artists are going to be pissed, and then you to get blamed for organizing it not in the best way. But I'm sorry, Kasia.
No. That's really yeah. In general, like all of the worries that we had and the lack of I don't know how to say the faith that we can carry this thing like at the very beginning because there was like so many questions and it's interesting that after like less than 1 year we achieved amazing things. So we like to thinking about this beginning of sitting in this very cold gallery during the winter time, doing all of this. Like creating the crazy ideas, but apparently we are put them in real life in such
Yeah.
a very fast time. And
Yeah, but also to I think answer your question in another way. I think it's also very important. I think Kasia helped a lot with that to be a part of an art world, to have those kind of like even a little bit of connection to people that would be familiar with your work. And for Kasia as a curator before, she had this kind of resume that I assume brought a lot of interest to our gallery also. So that's definitely if someone is thinking about like starting a gallery, it's I think the first step that I would advise is to be before opening and even before thinking about opening the gallery, try to introduce yourself to the art world, trying to make a connection, try to go for the openings, meet with the gallerists and talk to them because it might definitely help with the amount of people that will recognize your gallery as a part of this kind of gallery establishment, as I might say, in the city.
We might say ecosystem, as you've mentioned, Kasia coming with curatorial experience and reputation. Maybe Kasia, I could just ask you a little bit about your curatorial experience, like Self Seeders, the exhibition at HOS Gallery, which focused on, I believe, on ecological and conceptual themes. I wonder whether is that something that's always interested you, and have you brought some of those curatorial ideas to Bliss?
mm, as I said, like I was running this gallery, HOS, it's like host, and Self-seeders, like the exhibition that I did, was an exhibition not exactly about the ecological issues, more like it was the presentation selection of work of three generations of women, and one of them it's Ala Savashevich, who is from Belarus, from Ukraine, my mistake, and also Monika Drużyńska and Teresa Jakubowska. So it's like 3 different generations, and it's about like self-seeders. For me, it's like the concept of not being welcomed somewhere and somehow, and how to women have to like make own path to create, to be strong. What does it mean to be strong as a woman? So that was the question that I tried to answer for this exhibition. But as Lukasz said, like my experience, I'm very grateful because as a part of the Bliss Gallery, I have this opportunity to work as a freelance curator. So, for example, I did a couple of exhibitions in different institutions this year. So I'm working with different subjects, but for me, it's very interesting to look for the political stories. For example, I did the exhibition with Adam Kozicki, who, for example, works on themes like the situation on the Belarusian border in Poland, because it's a topic that it was very important couple months, maybe years ago, because maybe you heard about the push-ups that happening between Russia and Poland, and so about the people who died over there, who are struggling to cross the borders illegally. And Adam tried to somehow expose that the situation is not ending, it's still ongoing. Also, there was, so I'm really into working with this kind of artist. In Bliss, we are trying to focusing mostly on, we like the abstraction. We noticed that it's a lack of abstraction in Poland. We don't know why, but in Poland there's like plenty of figuration, but also like this with this magical surrealistic twist. And the three of us, we find out that we are slightly tired of it. So, for example, we did another exhibition like Material Tendencies, which is right now that we opened last week. We trying also working with different materials, with different mediums, but also like bringing back the abstraction that a couple decades ago it was very strong in Poland. We have very important surnames that the part of the worldwide avant-garde, Strzemiński, Starzewski, and somehow like this memory of these great achievements is gone in Poland. We don't know why. So maybe Lukasz would like to add something on the program that we have right now.
Yeah, so you made an introduction that I think it describes quite well how we are looking on our future exhibitions and how we are trying to search for artists that we can work with long term, because we also, I think I might add it right now, that as a gallery, we decided to make quite an extraordinary system that we are not starting with a set amount of artists that we are representing. And we are starting with an idea that we are going to make exhibitions, show, of course, few artists that we have already begin working with beforehand. So like Magdalena Lazar or Paweł Zaremba, which are or the state of Urszula Bról, which are right now in our gallery, but mainly, and we are trying to add to our portfolio, let's say, artists that we have worked with. We are proposing a few, young artists exhibitions. We are talking to them, we are meeting them, and after that we can decide whether we are interested in them or not, and vice versa, of course, because we are not. Of course, we are the institution, so we have this kind of a high power in hierarchy, but we treat the artist as a very, on the same level of importance as an institution, and not even, maybe even more important than the institution itself. So that's one thing that I would add about our program and process of obtaining and thinking about art and the artists. I think, yeah, we also decided that the first few exhibitions were connected to this blissfulness and to this bliss state, but I think it's kind of evolving in our minds right now, and we in our, I think, curatorial eye that is personified by Kasia, but we also think about it as a whole, as a three. We decided more on to turn a little bit to the abstraction and to find this kind of calmness in our exhibitions, and to find this kind of reflections and reflection on how to present the works with to give them respect and to give them space, and to to simplify it, I might call it like very minimalistic approach. It's like a very broad simplification, but I think this term explains it pretty well. So I think ongoing, you will see in our gallery more of this kind of turn to view more of a radical minimalism and abstraction rather than very strong figuration or very engaging and very easy to be interested by. And I think, it's of course they will be interesting, but in the way of this like simple visual effects and effectiveness, I think that there would be a little bit turned to the more simple side.
Do you think that I'm just thinking of the difference coming across from Warsaw art ecosystem, if you like, and contemporary, and say London, because obviously we've seen quite a growth in what I might call more commercial art. The YBAs, many of the YBAs were creating something that what my colleagues in the auction house would say has wall power. It seems to me that in Warsaw there's still there's still a lot of kind of interest in intellectual modernism, abstraction, and so on, compared maybe to a lot of, I think, the tendencies in London at the moment. So the people who come to your exhibitions, and maybe your collectors, presumably you've got a good collector base that returns, and you know the kind of things that they're interested in, what their tastes are now. Are they kind of quite into that slightly more intellectual, less commercial art? Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. I think that all of this is because the art market in Poland is very young, and
Yes.
the story like the communism that we have in the 80s, and so the art market is only 30, 40 years. So it's like like maybe we can say like it's a very young, and maybe because of that we are still into experimentations, and because I think that wherever you were in the exhibition in Poland, especially Warsaw and Krakow, because they are like the main cities, I think, because it's also interesting that in Poland we don't have such many galleries in London. So we say in Poland we might have like, I don't know, 40 maybe. Some of them are like well established, but some of them are very young and very creative institutions. So I think that this need of, for example, creating the scenography, of course, it's also very important. Like the budget is not so huge, so there's only few galleries like the big one in London. So even though I don't know if like the main galleries can compare with the main galleries in London, definitely not. So I think that because of this lack of money, the lack of I don't know, maybe not the experience, because we have to learn from scratch everything. So I think that all the exhibitions are slightly engaging. For example, different. For example, creating the scenography and thinking about the space instead of only hanging the paintings on the wall. So I think that, especially during the Warsaw Gallery weekend, it's like I would say for me, it's a kind of competition who make like the more spectacular thing. So it's very interesting because our exhibition, we create like, as Lukasz and I said, like this big fountain. We make one dark room because we would like to expose the paintings, watercolors by Urszula Bról in the darkness, and we create like the light installation in a one room. So instead of only selling and thinking about the exposition that should be very minimalistic and done only for selling the artworks, we try to create like the experience that it's like very sensual and engaging, like exactly like your eyes, but also ears. We're creating like the special music compositions for this exhibition. So I think that in Poland we still have this kind of need to surprise people, to engage with the viewers in a different way, because we know that there are possibilities like in terms of selling the artworks are limited. So we are looking for different solutions. Maybe, I don't know, Lukasz, if you agree with me.
Yeah, definitely. But I would add a little bit to what you're saying, that I'm 100% agreeing with you about that. You have to surprise a viewer. You have to make him interested. But at the same time that you mentioned it, David, that you have to make it intellectually interesting. So it can't be a cheap visual kind of, it's I don't know, red room and red paintings. It will be definitely criticized, and to be treated as a very like cheap way of making something showy. And we can make you can't really make something showy, and I think that's a little bit of a difference, as you correctly have diagnosed it, that for example, like in many institutions, in private or institutions in United States, in England, in London, you've got sometimes they can allow themselves to make those kind of more visually pleasing and acceptable, like for everyone, in installations or works. And in Warsaw, it's very like you have to be on the frontier of art. You have to show or you have to show the most avant-garde, and you have to show that you're interested, you're deep into the conversation, you're intellectually pushing the narrative, not only visually. You have to, it's empty otherwise. So I think many of gallerists are they know about it, and you have to connect this with your gallery practice. So this notion of being on the frontier of intellectual engagement, and at the same time making something interesting for other people and for the collectors, because collectors are looking for also the same kind of approach, but at the same time they like things that are more aesthetically pleasing, so it's quite, I think it's quite in Polish art market, it's quite different than in other parts of the world. And I've noticed that pretty much immediately after starting the gallery, and I think that's it's also, I think there will be change in few years. Collectors are changing a little bit, but right now it's on this kind of a state, like two-state solution.
Yeah, I think the difference is, and Kasia said about it's you've both said it's quite young because of the post-communist period, and you'll have to rediscover a lot of very interesting artists from that period as well, and reintroduce them to the public today. But obviously, I guess in London, of course, there are loads of galleries, but they're not in the middle of tourist London, in Mayfair and St James and Fitzrovia. That's where you tend to find the more commercial, art. If I could, I'm not saying it's bad art, but it's the big names. It's, whereas you go to the Hackney Marshes or you go to south of the river, and you will find an ecosystem very, very similar, I think, to what you're describing in Warsaw. I was just going to come on to so you've got a current show called Material Tendencies that you just mentioned, and I noticed that curatorially it was not, or in terms of choice of of media, it wasn't dissimilar to your earlier exhibition, Inner Sun, in as much as there seems to be, when I'm looking at the photos on your website, both shows are using a 3D installation artist or sculptor. I don't know how they describe themselves. And then you've got the flat art on the walls, the paintings or the watercolors or oils on the walls as well.
Mhm.
So and it's fairly obvious to me that there is meant to be a dialogue between the two artists going on between the 3D works in the middle of the room and the works on the wall. What I was going so the exhibition that you had in a Sun, the reason I'm interested in that is because one of the artists you then selected to show at Artissima Art Fair where we met in Torino. Just for listeners who haven't been there, I think it's become Italy's leading contemporary art fair. I've been going with my students for many years now, and I remember in the early days it was definitely Bologna was considered more important. There were other places, and I think Torino's become quite important to the Italians now. And Torino it's a very very vibrant art city, as you will have experienced probably.
We love it.
And but I just wondered why did you decide to just bring Ursula's work and not Anna? I can't pronounce her name.
Oh, it's hard. It's
Yeah,
Stwiertnia.
yeah.
It's really
I mean,
hard.
why did you? So you had them in dialogue with one another in your Inner Sons exhibition in Warsaw, and then you bring only one of the artists. Was there a reason for that? Is it? I mean, my art business educational mind is thinking, oh, is it art fair art? You know, is it something that you think is more likely to sell because it's an art fair?
Mm, yeah, that's a very interesting question because, of course, we are extremely glad that that the application were accepted because this year we went to Vienna and then Turin, and we had to think in a strategic way because we are thinking that we are even not 1 year or we don't have a 1 year, and very often this is the kind of requirement to apply for art fair. We are thinking that the story of Urszula Bról might be very appealing and very interesting. And for us, apparently, like I never thinking about it this way, but somehow the the story of Poland, it's like this heritage that we have to carry on. It's also like we are dealing with. It's also very important for us in this gallery. So I didn't notice before. And for example, for me, Urszula Bról, it's um, it's amazing that someone can create this kind of spiritual and art that was inspired by like the meditation, like the Buddhism, as you said, during the communistic time when the like access to the knowledge from the western part of the world was very limited. So we are thinking that Urszula Bról was kind of very courage and very brave and unique artist during this time. So we thought that maybe the story of her and the group that she was working with might be very appealing for the art fair that is very well curated because to Artissima for us, we noticed that this art fair is really also oriented into the story. So it's not only about presenting the artworks like the commercial art, but also the story is something very important for them. For example, we are so surprised that they offer us to creating kind of audio guide for the fair, and they recording the information about Urszula and they put in the QR code because they want to share the story also with the viewers and visitors of the fair. So for us, it was like mind blowing that apparently like the choice that we made to focus on very good story, the beautiful story, instead only art that is so visually appealing. So apparently it was the good choice and the application was accepted. So we are so proud.
Yeah, just to add.
Maybe you could share while Lukasz is speaking, maybe Kasia could share an image by
Yeah.
Ursula.
Yeah, so just to add to what Kasia has already said, that of course we when we were planning the Artissima fair and thinking about it, I think we didn't even thought about bringing Anya's, the other artist that you mentioned from the exhibition Inner Sun, works, not because we thought to ourselves that it would be more sellable, because we knew that we have to make the best, let's say, visual appearance, because as a young gallery you sometimes do not sell on the first fair as you go, so we were prepared for that. But we thought that I think it was a thought that wasn't even spoke about it, but everyone knew about it, like everyone felt it, that if we would brought the Anya's work, that might interfere.
Uczestnicy mogą teraz wyświetlić twoją aplikację.
That might interfere with the very calm visuals of Urszula's work.
Udostępnianie ekranu przez ciebie jest wstrzymane. Udostępnianie ekranu przez ciebie jest wstrzymane. Udostępniasz ekran.
And the installation would create noise that might interfere with the reception of Urszula's work, which is very calm. And we thought to ourselves that leaving the walls, the big white walls with the relatively small works of Urszula would make it appear more appropriate, and to it would be definitely more clear for a viewer to view the story of Urszula this way, without the additional works of Anya, which are great, and we also connected them as you said, in the previous exhibition. But I think that also what we were in mind going out to Artissima, and at the end more practical. And to be frank, it was easier to take the works of Urszula. So I'm not going to lie about it. It's just also in the process of thinking, it's also important for anyone that would, for example, wanted to make or to start a gallery. It's also, you have to sometimes add this practical thinking to your approach.
No, I think that's right, and I think you're quite right. I think it was a great choice for Artissima, because what I like about their, Kasia mentioned this, that the rationale I give to taking my students there is that this is an art fair that was doing what a lot of bigger art fairs, including places like Frieze, and have imitated. I would say that it becomes part of a celebration of art in the whole city, and they have more educational events. They have artist prizes. The Illy Prize for the cafe with the cups. I own my own because of this. It's very, very much part of the culture. It's not just a commercial fair, and they have these lovely sectors. I can't remember whether you were in the what was it called, the past present, where galleries are asked to get out stock which maybe didn't sell or weren't very successful the first time round, but they now believe the artists should be made visible again. That's a great theme of Artissima, I think, because it kind of works. It works philosophically, i.e., these artists maybe saw beyond the horizon and no one was interested in it at the time, and now maybe we're ready to see them. So it kind of works on that level. It also works on, this is a chance to sell stock that you can't move from your stock. And so I think Ursula's work fitted very, very well into that, because it was more historical as well. But what I was going to say is, it seems to me that so far you've had a very intelligent strategy. You've had your exhibitions in Warsaw, and they're obviously successful in terms of people coming to them. You've developed a curatorial style of your own, which is related to other styles in Warsaw. And you've been to the Vienna Art. You're present at the Vienna Art Fair, which represents a lot of Eastern European, if I may say, former communists. So it's a very, very interesting art fair. Maybe what people wouldn't expect in Vienna, I don't know. And then you've done Torino, which is kind of reaching out more into traditional Western Europe, if I can call it that. So do you have any future plans? Do you have any plans of where you might target next for another art fair? Sorry, that was rather long-winded.
Yes, so I think as a strategy as a whole for a gallery, so we have those kind of when we were maybe I will start in another way. When we were beginning this year, we definitely knew that we have to go to first. Like this is the sine qua non, of being a gallery, an important gallery, and
At the
so
very beginning stage. That's also a word to add, because some people said, "Oh, it's not worth it to go to art fairs," and some our colleagues from different galleries, they said to us that it's completely like, in terms of economy, it's completely not worth to do that. But as Lukasz said, we know that we have to do that, even if we
yeah,
don't.
we know that it's at first two, 3, 4 times it won't be economically sane thing to do, but as you also have to think about this, your kind of importance of your gallery, and definitely fairs allow it to obtain this kind of soft power of importance. And at the same time, so we decided that we have to apply for a few this year, and we got to Vienna, we got to Artissima. To be honest, we didn't think that it will happen, because, as Kasia mentioned, the main requirement is to be a gallery that's over a year. We didn't have it. At Vienna, we had like 2 months as a gallery, so it was quite ludicrous, and Kasia did a magnificent job of describing and the application, and what she wrote was I would trust her with my life. So I don't blame the organizer that they are postponed their the requirement of 1 year. And right now, after that, we saw that we are the people from art fairs like our program, and they treat us as a gallery of quite a good status right now, despite this short period of being opened. We are going to right now maybe try to selectively go to fairs. We would like to have this opportunity. So we think about returning to few fairs, but we also think about making another step, thinking to select fairs that will be, I would say, that are a little bit higher in the hierarchy of fairs, because let's be clear, there is a hierarchy of stuff. There's a hierarchy of galleries. It's quite noticeable. So maybe go to Paris, to Switzerland, maybe to London. I don't know. We have to you have to think about what we are able, and economically, and as I mentioned, in this kind of way of importance of our gallery, and how to put the applications smartly. But I think we are going to try to reach out more to this kind of Western predicament. So this Switzerland and Paris and so on and so on.
Yeah, and I think that if I'm right, well, you'll know this because Artissima has it as well. Most art fairs also have a younger than 5 years for emerging galleries, as well as for artists. So you over the net you're already on the map, and you're not a year old now, so you're doing very well, I would suggest. And I think because you've done Vienna and you've been accepted for Artissima as well, that is obviously going to look good in future applications for, as you say, maybe art fairs a bit higher up that league table. One is not saying that they're any more interesting or important, because that's why I go back all the way to Torino with my students every year. It's because it's such an interesting business model, arts world model. I think Artissima compared to a lot of fairs. So they go to Frieze, and I'm hoping my students found Artissima a much more interesting phenomenon in many ways than Frieze. So I'm aware at the time I was going to just so we've really talked a little bit about upcoming projects, and you're thinking about future art fairs. So maybe I think another question listeners would be interested in is, how important is social media for you, your Instagram account, like online visibility? Are you actively engaged in that?
Yeah, it's quite vital. I think it's one of the most important thing you can do as a gallery. Of course, you have to make great exhibitions and to curate good exhibitions, but you have to think about good reproductions and documentation of the exhibition, because it stays in web and people can refer to it. So you have to think about your traffic on your Instagram. Of course, it is like the main viewing highway of adding to. You cannot be in the system without you've got this kind of sending out your visuals, and also I think thinking about your social media profile as a gallery, you also have to be very smart about it and to create kind of visuals that are connected to the spirit of your gallery. So it's quite hard. We've got a person that helps us with that. So
Yeah, I was gonna ask whether you and Kasia do this, or you
no,
have someone working.
Kasia is like a CFO or something like that of our
Yeah,
Instagram. But
yeah.
we also have a great guy that is helping us with that, and he's very well educated in visual perspective and how to position yourself as a gallery. So we try to apply it to our posts and to our even stories. We very often we talk about what we are going to post, so it's not like a vision of Kasia, and Kasia is going to put it out, but we will asking each other, is it good, is it going to look good, is it going to be a part of our story as a gallery, so it's quite difficult. It's more difficult than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And it's for someone that is starting, it's I think this part of making a gallery is equally important as making a good exposition. I think I would even say that.
I think so. And Kasia, can I ask you maybe finally a final question? You've got as a curator with a curatorial vision, which you have a great track record for, and you're continuing at Bliss Gallery at the moment. Do you have any future visions of like what you'll be doing next year? Are you still interested in introducing or revising women artists that you may have been forgotten, or introducing emerging women artists in? Does that remain important to you, or to the themes of Bliss that we've already spoken about? Can you see any changes in that in the next couple of years in direction?
I don't know if I noticed the changes. Like, I mean, we closed the program for the next year. And as you notice also that we are also into juxtaposing painting and sculpture.
Yes.
And maybe because of the art market in Poland, because still painting is like the main medium.
Yeah.
And for us, it's very important to showing that the sculpture is, for me, like having like three-dimensional works, it's the most important thing. Like it makes something, the space looks more well designed, well thought. And so for me, like using different media as a curator is like the most important. I was thinking because the finding like the surnames that somehow they get lost in the history, like Urszula Bról. Previously, I was working with different artists, Roma Hawat, who also passed away. For me, for example, the plan for the next year is maybe do the exhibition presenting the abstract art, women who creating, for example, in the 70s, 80s, or in the 60s. Also, in our future plans, we would like to engage more with the curator from abroad, because we are super curious how they treat Polish art, what different things they can notice in this art. So probably me as a curator, I won't be so I don't know, visible next year because I'll be focusing on my projects, because I'm going to work, for example, in Venice with one project.
Oh, wow.
For invitation, I received the invitation. So I think that Bliss will be more international next year, even if we are focusing on Polish artists mainly. we would like to, as I said, somehow check the boundaries and find out what might be interesting and appealing for the people from abroad in Polish art. And yeah, so finger crossed, because the plans are very
ambitious.
Ambitious, exactly.
Yeah, but I think that's a wonderful way forward, is to bring in, other national curators to do something with Polish art. It's a great way to get Polish art more recognized, particularly these, what, if I may say, forgotten artists of the 20th century. We see this a lot, and no, I think it's a great idea. May I ask? So, can you let us know where you will be in Venice and what you're doing there?
It's
confidential
like
at the moment.
Top secret
Okay,
still.
because I'm going with my students in June to the Venice Biennale. So if something does develop, do let me know.
It's not related to Biennale. It will be
No,
like
I wasn't saying it's part of the Biennale. But it's going to be on during the Biennale, presumably.
it will be during the autumnal time. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
it's like the projects that I continue, that I did this year, and the art is working on expanding the series of the paintings that she
I
did.
see.
So I think that will be exposition in one of the palaces in Venice,
Yeah.
but it still needs to be confirmed. So I don't want to share that information.
No problem. No, because I was going to suggest that, what would you think of, hiring a space during the actual Biennale in the summer for Bliss Gallery to, show one of their artists? Because I know that is something that other people have done, particularly from Eastern Europe.
We are thinking maybe not about the Biennale and Venice, but for example, for us, the Berlin is like a place
Oh,
that
yes.
we like to do. And we are
Yeah.
thinking one of the ideas was maybe to participate in Berlin Art Week, because the working, like the creating the partners, having the partners abroad, it will be also very important to us. So I
Yes.
think that participating like Stockholm Art Week or Berlin Art Week, it's something that also allows us to like the spreading the information about the Polish artist, and also like working with different contexts, with different space, because as Lukasz said, this space is very beautiful, but at the same time we are very often complaining like, then we would like to have a concrete floor. And so being a Bliss in different spaces, that will be also very interesting for us. So I think that there's one of the plans, maybe probably for the next year.
Okay, so for listeners, go to blissgallery.pl, which is the website, and Instagram is at bliss_Warsaw. And I'd just like to thank, on behalf of all the listeners, to Lukasz and Kasia for sharing this. I think it's been so interesting hearing about the art world in Warsaw, but just I think for my art business students in particular, you share quite a lot of interesting ideas on strategy, which they can all also, and I think other listeners can learn from. But do go and check out their spaces, and I'll put links in any of the literature as well. So thank you very much for being guests on the Art Business Podcast.
Thank you very much for hosting the podcast. It was a pleasure.